This video discusses some of the music ideas of Give Me One Reason by Tracy Chapman. This is a great song for a number of reasons, but it's interesting to play on the guitar because it uses the key of F-sharp major, which isn't a common guitar key, but as we'll see, it utilizes F-sharp major in an interesting way to make kind of the sound of the song. For more information on the music ideas discussed here, you can go to myguitarlessons.com and we will step you through not only the music ideas but playing the song, and you can track your progress as you do it. The first music idea that we're going to talk about is the syncopated rhythm in the song, and we'll do that by looking at the bass notes. A syncopated rhythm means that there's something unusual in the rhythm and you're not just playing on the beats. So this song is in 4/4 time, which means that there are 4 beats per measure and each beat lasts a quarter note. And what is syncopated about the rhythm is that the bass note is on the 1. So if you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in each measure, the first bass note is on the 1. So we're going to play an F sharp at the 2nd fret of string 6, and the second bass note is on the and of beat 2. So instead of on the 3 where you might expect it, it's an 8th note earlier. So it sounds like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what you want to do when you're playing the syncopated rhythm is be tapping your feet to the beat, but playing on the 1 and the and of beat 2. So it's a little bit not natural at first, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes very comfortable. Next, we'll look at a standard 12-bar blues progression. Give Me One Reason uses a slightly modified version of this progression, but it's good to understand the bass progression first. So if we call the F sharp note the 1, then the 4 will be on the string higher, so it will be the B note on the 5th string. So 1, 4, and then the 5 will be the C sharp note on string 5. So you can visualize 1, 4, and 5, and we're simply going to play bass for the progression. So the 12-bar blues starts with a measure of the 1, and then it goes to, it can either play another measure of the 1 or it goes to the 4, which is considered, it's called a quick change blues. So the 2 is the 4, measure 3 is back to the 1, measure 4 is a 1, measure 5 is the 4, measure 6 is the 4, measure 7 is the 1, measure 8 is the 1, measure 9 is the 5, measure 10 is the 4, measure 11 is the 1, measure 12 is the 1. So what we can do is play the bass notes for standard 12-bar blues using the rhythm of this song, the syncopated rhythm. So that sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's a basic quick change 12-bar blues in the key of F sharp major. So now in the song Give Me One Reason, the only difference is twice in 2 of the measures the measure is broken into two chords, so that A is played as the first chord, and then the B is played as the first chord, and then the C sharp is played as the second chord in the measure. So it's the 4 and the 5 in the key. So that happens on measures 2 and measures 6. So to play the bass notes for the progression of Give Me One Reason, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Next, we'll talk about using the open strings in the bass line. And this is why the key of F sharp major is interesting, because what happens is the open strings can be used in the song. Even though F sharp major, that would not necessarily be true. So if we look at an F sharp major chord, it looks like this. If we look at an F sharp dominant chord, it looks like this. And the note that is now included in the dominant chord is this note, which is an E. Well, that happens to be an open string as well. So what you can do is play an open string, and that is a dominant sound. And with blues, it's quite common to change chords that would be major into dominant. So you have all dominant chords, and that's called dominant blues. And so what is interesting is in the bass line, Tracy Chapman is using that open string and then playing the chord. So it's a dominant blues sound. It's not the major, because the major note, here's the one, the major note would be the F note, but since we're playing the E note, that's a minor 7, and that makes it a dominant sound. So using the key of F sharp major is really interesting in this sense, in that it gives you a dominant bass note in the open string. And that's in fact how the song starts. It starts with 3 eighth notes of the open E string. So that's how the bass starts. And then when she changes to the 4 chord, right before the 1 of the 4 chord, she again plays an 8th note of an open string. And now this is the A string. It's playing a B major chord, but again, if you look at a dominant B chord, it adds this note on string 3, which is an A note, and that is also the open string. So that's why when you play the open 5th string, it is adding a dominant 7 to the B chord. So both the 1 and the 4 chord have a dominant effect because of the open strings. So you're going to play the open A string on the and of beat 4 right before measure 2. So that's a really interesting use of the open strings to sound good with the key of F sharp major. If you put a capo on the 2nd fret, you would not be able to achieve that sound, at least with open strings, because now you can't get down to those lower notes. Like you can't get down to the low E. When she goes to the 5 chord, she's again playing that open A string before going to the 5 chord. So it's a little bit different. The pattern is broken a little bit, but because the A string's been played before, I guess it works. So the whole bass line with some of those dominant notes sounds like this. The next thing we're going to talk about is the chords related to the song. So far we've been playing bass notes. That's one of the many great things about the guitar, is you can be a bass player as well as a rhythm guitarist, or even a drummer if you add some percussive effects. So to play the rhythm, what I suggest you do is you use your thumb for the bass note, and then these two fingers, your index and middle fingers, for the rhythm, and keep them stuck together as if they're glued together, and they're going to play adjacent strings throughout the song. And this is interesting because the voicings sound a little exotic or complex, but when you know, just keep your fingers together to play them, it becomes easy. So it's kind of a foolproof way to be playing the guitar, is to keep your fingers together and play the voices. When she is playing the chord, she's playing the notes and then lifting her fretting hand, and that stops the ringing of the note. So it's kind of a staccato effect, meaning that the notes are played shorter than their usual duration. You can watch as I play that these two fingers are stuck together to get the voicing that you hear. So those are some of the music ideas of Give Me One Reason. If you go to myguitarlessons.com, we step you through each of these ideas as well as step you through playing the song, and you can track your progress along the way.